Hi guys, good morning. Can you guys hear me? Please confirm in the chat box. Right. Are you able to see my screen? All of you able to see my screen? Yes, sir. And all of you, welcome to Ashok IT. Myself Ashok. And first thing, all of you, thank you so much for wishing me on my birthday. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm feeling very happy for this. And I'm looking forward to work with you people in future. Right. Fine. So this course is for Spring Boot and microservices. So here in the today's session, we are going to understand who can join this course, right? And what are the prerequisites to attend this course and why to join Spring Boot and microservices with me only. So what is the reason to come for this Ashok IT? What is the difference between other boot microservices trainings available in the market and what is the uniqueness which we are providing from Ashok IT? Those things we are going to discuss. And what concepts that we are going to learn as part of this Spring Boot and microservices also, I'm going to explain. And I'm going to show you where we are going to use all these concepts as part of our applications development. So I hope all of you clear with this. So are you clear with the expectation? Before going to start the session, does anybody has any questions? Any questions, anybody? Right, fine. First part, who should attend? Who should attend Spring Boot and microservices course? Who should attend this Spring Boot and microservices course? Nowadays, in the industry, the expectation, every Java developer should know what is a Spring Boot and how to develop microservices based applications by using Spring Boot. So it doesn't matter whether you are a fresher, whether you are 1 year, 3 years experience or 10 years experienced, because earlier people were used to develop the applications by using monolith architecture. But nowadays, the trend in the market, microservices architecture. So to develop microservices based applications by using Java, we are going for Spring Boot. So every Java developer should know Spring Boot and microservices. Right. If you are already working in the industry, as a Java developer, this is the time you have to upgrade yourself with the Spring Boot and microservices knowledge. Then only you can survive as a Java developer in the IT industry. That is the expectation from the industry. And suppose you are not working in the industry, you are trying to get into the IT industry as a Java developer. Freshers also should know Spring Boot and microservices. Why? Because nowadays, when the companies are recruiting you as a fresher, they don't provide you training for 3 months or 6 months of time, because they are going to pay the salary to you. They will expect something from you. They are going to expect that you are going to be part of the project. So simple requirements you should be able to develop as part of the project. So if you don't know Boot and microservices, they are not showing interest to recruit the people. And as I have discussed with my previous students in the market, they told that, sir, without having Spring Boot and microservices in the resume, we are not getting the calls. So if you want to attend the interview, if you want to schedule your interview, then definitely we have to mention Spring Boot and microservices in the resume. And in the interview room, if the interview is happening for 1 hour, 30 to 40 minutes of time, they are asking the questions only from Boot and microservices. So that much demand is there for Spring Boot and microservices in the industry for the Java developers. So everybody who want to work in the Java platform should know Boot and microservices nowadays. There is no other alternative. There is no other alternative. You have to learn this boot and microservices. Then only you can survive in the IT industry if you are already working. If not, if you want to get the job as a Java developer, definitely you should know this boot and microservices course, right? Fine. Now, sir, what is the package structure if we keep boot and microservices in our resume? So if you are already are working, or if you are going to attend the interview with the experience of minimum 3 years, for 3 years experience, if you have boot and microservices, then you can demand up to 8 to 9 lakhs of package. If you in the resume, if you have boot and microservices, then you can demand up to 8 to 9 lakhs package for 3 years experience. You can go with experience multiplied by 3 lakhs. So this is how you can demand the package if you are boot and microservices developer. If you are having 3 years experience, 3 into 3, 9 lakhs package you can demand in the industry. All right. Now, so that is the expectation. Very good market is there for the boot and microservices. Industry is literally looking for the professionals who are well experienced with boot and microservices, right, to work as part of the projects development. Right. Now, these are necessary ads. Next one. What are the prerequisites? What are the prerequisites to learn these boot and microservices? No, core Java. You should already completed the core Java classes, right? And you should be completed advanced Java classes also. As part of advanced Java, JDBC, servlets, and JSP. JDBC, servlets, and JSP concepts you should be completed. If you have basics of ORM, what is object relational mapping, basics of the Hibernate, if you know, that is well and good. Even if you are not get the ORM basics also, no problem, because here we are going to learn what is that ORM, how to develop persistence layer by using ORM frameworks. Here I am going to explain Spring ORM. Sorry, Spring data I am going to cover as part of our boot microservices, and Spring core module. Spring core module. So not complete Spring core is also required. If you have the basic knowledge of what is IOC container, what is dependency injection, the fundamental concept of the Spring, if you know, then you are eligible to attend my boot and microservices course, right? So the prerequisites are very simple. If you know core Java and advanced Java, basics of the ORM framework, right, and Spring core module fundamental concepts, if you know, then you are eligible to attend my boot and microservices batch. So I hope all of you good with prerequisites to attend this batch. Does anybody have any questions related to this? Anybody is having any questions related to this? JSP knowledge, if you don't have, that's not a big issue, sir, because as part of the microservices, UI will be very less because we are going to develop the backend services. So why I am asking to know the JSP? As part of the Spring Web MVC, we are going to develop a few web applications. For that, JSP knowledge is required. So if you don't have that much knowledge in the JSP, still that's not a problem. I will be explaining form-based applications by using JSP, as well as I'm going to explain Themeleaf also as a presentation technology for us. Right. So basics, at least JSP, it is used to develop user interface as part of our web applications, right? How to develop a simple JSP forms, if you know, then that is sufficient for me to teach you Spring MVC. All right. Fine. So prerequisites also very clear, and basics of database, Oracle. If you have basics of Oracle database, how SQL queries we are going to write, how to perform CAD operations in our applications, that Oracle knowledge, SQL knowledge is required. PLSQL is not required for us, sir. Only SQL knowledge is required for us. If you are good with the SQL, then definitely we are going to become master Spring Data. So Spring Data is used to perform our persistent operations only with the database. So you should have basic idea what is table, what is row, what is column, what is index in the table, what is primary key, what is foreign key, what is join, what is a composite primary key. If you have that knowledge, then you are eligible to attend my boot and microservices batch. Right. After this, our course content. what we are going to learn from this boot and microservices course. Ashok, there are so many trainers available in the market who are teaching boot and microservices. Why we have to choose only you? What is the uniqueness, right? So what is the course content that you are going to provide? What is the difference that you are going to show when compared with other trainers available in the market? Definitely I'm going to show the difference, right? So you will understand that. So course content. Our course is divided into multiple parts. The first part is Spring Boot. So here we are going to understand several internals of the applications, right? Now, when I develop a boot application, right, what are the configurations that I need to do in my pom.xml file? How my boot application is getting bootstrapped? Internals of my Spring Boot application. Sir, in this already, some of you already aware the definition of the Spring Boot, which is used to develop the application with less configuration. So if we don't do the configuration, then how boot is going to understand our components? How boot is going to start that IOC container? How the dependency injection is performing in the Spring Boot? We are not doing any configuration. In the Spring, we will do a lot of configurations to perform auto wiring, to perform dependency injection for everything. But in the boot, nothing, no configuration at all. Everything will be taken care by boot. How it is taking care of that? What is happening in the background in the Spring Boot? That we are going to understand as part of Spring Boot basics, right? Spring Boot basics we are going to understand. As part of this boot basics, we will cover Spring versus Spring Boot, Spring versus Spring Boot. Then we will understand Spring Boot advantages and disadvantages, pros and cons we are going to learn. Then Spring Boot starters we are going to cover as part of this basics concepts only. Starters. After starters are completed, boot project creation. Boot project we can create in two ways, sir. One is by using initializer website and by using starter wizard in the IDE. Right. After that, internals of boot. What is run method? What is run method in the Spring Boot? And what is @Spring Boot application annotation, how it is function in the background. Runners also we are going to understand in the Spring Boot. Banner also we are going to understand. Here I will explain you IOC, dependency injection, auto wiring, that is SI, CI, FI. Auto wiring we are going to cover, and we are going to understand what is component scanning, stereotype annotations. These all are from Spring core module concepts only, sir. Just I am going to brush up once again to give you more confident about the Spring Boot. So to understand these concepts only, I am expecting you to know the basics of the Spring core module, which are fundamental concepts in the Spring framework. So these classes, these things are going to be called as our boot basics, right? Once we completed all these things, we will be developing two applications here to check our knowledge. Whatever we learned, are we able to use all these concepts as part of the project or not? That's why two layered architecture based applications I am going to develop in the class. Two layered architecture based applications. I'm going to develop whatever the concepts that we used here in the Spring Boot, whatever we learned as part of the basics, all these concepts we are going to use as part of these two layered architecture based applications. This is the difference that we can see here. Because so you might have learned the Java already from some legends in the market, core Java, advanced Java, frameworks, web services, from several institutes, from several trainers. You might have already learned those concepts. But if you want to understand the real-time usage of all these concepts, then definitely you have to touch me in the market. Because currently I am working in the industry. I am working for one banking based application for a USA based company. And as part of my project, I am using this boot and microservices only. So daily I am using these concepts as part of my project development. So that is the reason I am saying I am the right person to tell you what are the real-time use cases for all these concepts, where to use which concept in the project development, what is the real-time scenario, what are the real-time problems we are going to face as part of the project development. Everything will be shared. My personal experience, my professional experience, everything I am going to share as part of this boot and microservices class, right? Introduction for the boot will be completed with all these basic concepts. All these concepts are required to develop our next applications as part of our classroom, right? So two-layered applications here, you are going to get the complete clarity how Spring Core module is going to work, how IOC container will start, how dependency injection will happen, how auto wiring is happening in the project, what is that component scanning, what are the several key points that we need to know when we are performing the component scanning. Internally, how configuration is managing by the Spring Boot also we are going to understand very clearly with the real-time use cases. All of you clear with the first part of our course? This first part is going to take approximately 10 to 15 days of time, or 10 to 12 days of time it is going to take. Approximately 10 to 12 days of time it is going to take to understand all these concepts, right? Fine. Next, after completion of this boot basics, then we are going to start with Spring Data. Why this is Spring Data? This Spring Data is part of the Spring Boot, right, and Spring Framework. Here, it is used for persistence layer development, data access layer. Data access layer development will be done by using this Spring Boot. Spring Boot. In the Spring Boot application, we are going to use this Spring Data, which is used to develop data access layer. Data access layer, nothing but persistence layer, which is responsible to communicate with our persistent store. We are going to use database as a persistent store. So by using this Spring Data, we will interact with our database. Sir, already we know JDBC, Spring JDBC, ORM like Hibernate, Spring ORM, then why again we need to go for this Spring Data? So that's the magic, right? When you go for the ORM or Spring ORM or JDBC or Spring JDBC, lot of boilerplate code you need to write to perform CORD operations in your application. CORD operations in your application. So suppose if I take 10,000 tables in the project, for every table, CORD operations are common: inserting, updating, deleting, retrieving. So per table, one DAO class we are going to create as per the industry standard. So in my project also, for every table, one DAO class will be available. So what are the common methods in that DAO? Insert, update, delete, retrieve. Now I have 10,000 tables. So 10,000 DAO classes will be available. Every DAO will contain four methods: insert, update, delete, retrieve. 4 into 10,000, 40,000 methods you need to write, and you need to implement those methods, but all that logic is common. So if I insert a record into 10,000 tables, so logic is going to be same, just the table name, column names are going to be changed. So that is the boilerplate code we need to write when we are going to use Spring ORM or normal plain ORM framework. So for the same, if I use the Spring Data, exactly we are going to write 0 number of methods. We no need to write any method to perform CORD operation as part of our application. If I want to do some persistent operations as part of my application, for that persistent operations, if I use the Spring Data, 0 number of methods we are going to write. That is the beauty of this Spring Data. So this Spring Data also we are going to understand. And I have seen several people when they attend my project batches, people don't have minimum basic industry standards. What are the basic standards we need to follow when we are developing persistence logic? So when I introduced table per DAO, people got confused. Hey Ashok, what are you talking? Why are you saying to create one DAO for one table? Because these people don't know what is happening in the industry. So the bad part is some of our trainers also are associated with only our institutes as a full-time trainer. So they are not connected with, so they are not having that update how the projects are getting developed in the industry. So I am seeing from past 8 years how the projects are getting developed. I involved in several projects, so I have seen what are the best practices that we need to follow as part of our applications development, as part of our persistence layer development. So here I am going to give you best practices for persistent logic. Best practices for persistence logic development. Best practices for persistence logic. Then I'm going to give Spring Data benefits. What are the advantage of going for this Spring Data? Right now, Spring Data repositories. Spring Data repositories. So two repositories are available in the Spring Data. One is called CRUD repository, another one is called JPA repository. When to go for CRUD repository, when to go for JPA repository, what are the clear differences between those two repositories also we are going to understand with practical examples. CRUD repositories, JPA repository. CRUD repository, not repository, sir, it is interface. CRUD repository. And next one is JPA repository. After that, we will understand pagination and sorting. Then we will see generators. Then how to go for custom generators. Generators. What is generator? Can anybody answer? Guys, please be active in the session. Please participate. It is two-way communication. It's not like one-way traffic. I am saying you are listening. No, we have to interact with each other. So what is the purpose of generator? Can anybody answer? What is the purpose of generator? Yes, it is used to generate the primary key for our table. So every table is going to contain a primary key. To generate the primary key for the table, we are going to use generators. In the Hibernate, we are having some predefined generators are available, like sequence generator, Hilo generator, UUID generator, and native generator, like that. Identity generator, several generators are there. But I have a requirement. I want to generate my primary key as A101. Next primary key I want A102. Next primary key I want A103. Can you tell me which generator I need to use to generate this kind of primary key column? Is there any predefined generator available for that? Come on, guys. Is there any, can I use any predefined generator to generate my employee ID as A101, A102, and A103? No, no such kind of generator. No, increment generator. Can you use increment generator for that, Abhinesh? What is the functionality of the increment generator? 1, 2, 3, 4. But here my requirement is different. I want to append my number. I want to prefix my number with the A or any other character. We will not get A, right? Then how to satisfy my requirement? Suppose client told you like this. For every record that you are inserting into the table, I want to append my first name. Then we cannot go for predefined generators, right? That's where we need to go for custom generators. We need to develop a custom generator. So here I'm going to talk about how to work with custom generators in the Spring Data right now. So after custom generators, here we are going to see in-memory DB. How we are going to use in-memory database like H2. Nowadays, it is having a lot of demand for our POC development. In-memory database. Oracle, if you are working, then it will be called as external DB. To download that software, we need to install that software. But when it comes to the in-memory DB, nothing is required. On the fly, just like the database will come for our application, just like that database will go from our application. So in the runtime, we can access the database for our application. For that, we are going to talk about in-memory DB. So after in-memory DB, I am going to talk about Mongo database, NoSQL. Right now, how to use this, how to set up Mongo database in our system, how to develop our boot application, which uses Spring Data to communicate with Mongo database also. So these concepts will be covered as part of Spring Data. And custom queries also will be explained here, sir. How to develop, how to execute custom queries in data. How to develop custom queries in Spring Data also we are going to understand, because in the interviews, so many times people are saying that, sir, people are asking how to execute custom query in the Spring Data. So we are going to understand how to use predefined methods available in that and how to use custom queries also in the Spring Data. These are the concepts that will be covered from Spring Data module. So this Spring Data module is going to take approximately 8 to 10 days or almost 1 week is exact. I mean, almost 7 to 8 days of time it is going to take to understand our Spring Data concept. So I'm giving you content, what I am going to explain, what you can learn from me and how much duration it is going to take, right? Sir, actually Mahesh, relationships, when you are going for relationships, Spring Data not support for that. If you want to work with the relationships in our persistence layer, then Spring ORM is the best choice for that. So there are some advantages and disadvantages of Spring Data. So those also will be covered. Spring Data pros and cons, advantages and disadvantages I'm going to explain. So for relationships, data is not recommended, so it is not going to support for that. For that, we need to go for Spring ORM, right? One example I will take, how to work with association mapping also, how to execute the relationships in our persistence logic, right? So if you want to learn something which is not mentioned here, so, and guys, one more thing, whatever I am listing here, that is not fixed. Going forward, we are going to add some missing concepts also. So these are the roadmap that I am preparing. If you suggest any other concepts that you want to learn, that I am going to include that as part of our content, that's not a problem. So that is the reason I'm saying, please participate in the session and talk to me. So if you have any question, please chat with me. Please send a message to me. I am ready to accept, right? I'm not going to say that, please sign on this bond paper. This is the content only I am going to explain. In future, I can't explain any other. No, such kind of concept is not there here. If you want to learn something new, which is not mentioned here, if I forgot something, that we can add that in the future and discuss about that in the class. There is no problem for that. Fine. Any questions related to this Spring data? I'm giving the overview. What is this data? Why we are going to understand this, right? Sviya, thank you. Thank you so much for your birthday wishes. Right. Vishnu Prakash, we will understand that, sir. This is not the class to discuss about the questions, right? So we'll talk about that. Just I'm giving the content. Right. Yeah. Any other questions related to this data? Please participate. Right. Fine. Next, sir. Important, Spring Web MVC. If you don't know Spring Web MVC earlier, that's not a problem. Here we are going to understand intro for Spring Web MVC, advantages of MVC, advantages of Spring MVC architecture. Spring MVC architecture we are going to understand. Front controller, servlet, handler mapper, view resolvers, handler mapper, view resolver we are going to understand. Form tag library, how to use form tag library, form-based applications using JSP and ThemeLeaf. ThemeLeaf is another presentation technology which is supported by our Spring framework. So if you look at the ThemeLeaf also. ThemeLeaf, right. Form-based applications we are going to develop using JSP and ThemeLeaf, right. So these concepts will be covered from Spring Web MVC. This is sufficient, sir, because no need to learn how many controllers are there, what is simple controller, form controller, multi-action controller, that is outdated. So we are going to see in the industry level. So in the industry, nobody will use that outdated controllers, outdated handler mappers and all. So what is required for you? Here, every Spring MVC based application, I will be developing by using only annotations, right? No XML. Anyhow, in the book itself is not available. Every project that we are going to develop based on annotation only, no XML at all, right? So these concepts that we are going to understand. Then email sending using Spring Boot application. So in my web application, I want to send a mail. So in order to send the mails, how we need to use the Java mail sender provided by Spring Boot. Mail sending functionality we'll be discussing about here. Exception handling using AOP. Controller advisors we are going to use. Exception handling is very important for every developer, because whatever the code that we are writing today may work properly, but tomorrow, day after tomorrow, after 1 year, no guarantee, right? When the code is deployed to some higher environment, that code may not work, as n number of reasons can be there, because of n number of reasons. But we need to handle that exception properly. How to handle the exception of our Spring Boot web application? By using AOP mechanism. Throws advice concept will be available, right? So exception handling and user defined exceptions also we are going to create for our web application. User defined exceptions. So how to handle user defined exceptions in our Spring web application also will be understanding here. And I'm going to give you 50 real-time questions, real-time interview questions and answers. Already you can check these questions in my YouTube channel, sir. I uploaded these videos already in my YouTube channel. I explained 50 Spring MVC related questions along with answers also. So if you see these 50 interview questions, any interview you can crack. No other question will come from the Spring MVC, because so with my experience, I attended several interviews in the previous years, right? With my experience, and some of my students already attended the interviews. They are working in the industry. Whenever they attended the interview, they used to share me interview questions. So from all those people, I gathered the questions and I prepared 50 questions from the Spring MVC only. And I prepared the videos and I uploaded in the YouTube. After understanding all these concepts, then if you look at the video, then you are the number one in the Spring MVC. Nobody can touch you in the industry related to Spring MVC. Everything from starting to ending, we can explain. Whenever you go for interview, if they ask any question, what is Spring MVC? Ask them, could you please give me 30 minutes of time so that I will teach you what is Spring MVC completely. Completely, you can tell the architecture, what is each component is going to do in the Spring MVC, how exceptions can be handled in the Spring MVC, how to handle user-defined exceptions, everything we can discuss in the 30 minutes of time. So that much of confidence that I am going to provide you as part of the Spring Web MVC concepts, right? These Spring Web MVC concepts are going to take approximately for us 7 to 8 days or 7 to 10 days of time. So I cannot fix the time. So I'm giving minimum and maximum. So 1 week or 10 days of time it is going to take for us, right? Guys, all of this one. And here, and one more thing, sir, I forgot. I18N application. Internationalization, how to translate our application from English language to Spanish language and from Spanish to Portuguese language, how to support for multiple languages as part of our application by using I18N. That also will be discussed here. That also I'm going to explain you. Right? Yes. All of you good with this? Theme leaf. No need to be aware of that, sir. I'm going to explain. Theme leaf I will be covering. I will be explaining what is theme leaf. You no need to have any pre-knowledge of that. I will take care of that. Good? Right. Fine. Next. The very interesting part, Spring with REST. Spring with REST. If you don't know Spring with REST, then you will be not called as a microservices developer. If you want to say that you are a microservices developer, then you need to know REST API development. Then only you will be called as a microservices developer. So what is microservice? Can anybody give me the definition? What is a microservice? What is a microservice, sir? Come on, please. Guys, respond. What is microservice? I need few more answers. Only three or four people are responding, sir. What about others? Are you sleeping, guys? Microservices design pattern. Good. As part of this microservices design pattern, we are going to create several projects. Every project will be called as a separate service, right? That separate service will be a REST API. In the microservices based architecture project, one project is going to be developed in several projects. One project will be developed in multiple services format. Multiple projects will be created. For one application completion, multiple services will be created. Every service will be called as a REST API. So in order to develop that REST API, you should be having complete knowledge of the RESTful services. You should be having very good amount of knowledge related to RESTful services. So here people will may say, Ashok, we don't know REST API, we don't know RESTful services. When the new batch is going to start for the RESTful services? So that is how people are sending the messages. You no need to attend any RESTful services batch, because from 0 to hero level, complete RESTful services we are going to learn here. So you don't know anything about REST. Still, you are eligible to attend this microservices class. The reason, complete RESTful services I am going to cover as part of this batch. This is the one which is going to take more time for us. Spring with REST, because complete REST API. I'm not going to explain JAX RS, sir. I will be, because nobody is using that JAX RS API to develop the REST APIs in the industry, because our Spring is supporting for REST API development. So that is the reason here I am going to explain REST API development by using Spring framework. How to develop REST APIs by using Spring. that is called Spring with REST. So complete RESTful services, everything, whatever you need to attend a 4 years experienced interview as a boot microservices developer. For 4 years experienced developer, how much knowledge is required, how much real-time experience is required, that much knowledge, that much experience I am going to provide as part of this Spring with REST, because I am a middle tier developer in my company. I am a microservices developer. I don't work on the front end part, sir. From starting onwards, I'm a backend developer. Basically, my complete role in my company project is API developer. I'm working as an API developer. I will be dealing with REST APIs. I will be developing REST APIs. I will be dealing with MongoDB. I will be dealing with Spring Data, Redis Cache, and Pivotal Cloud Foundry to deploy our applications, Jenkins, Docker. Complete backend going to do as part of my project. So complete REST API, very good amount of knowledge I have in the REST API. That knowledge I am going to share as part of this class. Complete REST we are going to learn right now. So here, instead of listing down all those things, here already I have shared this PDF. Some of you already gone through this PDF document in the YouTube video. So I have mentioned what we are going to learn as part of this REST, right? Right. Now boot. Here one more concept I forgot to write in the notepad, sir. How to use what is embedded container in the boot, and how to make Jetty as a default server, how to deploy the boot web application to external server, those also will be covered. Right. Next, REST, complete REST. Here we are going to understand as part of, before going to start the REST, I will explain what is XML, what is JSON, when to go for XML, when to go for JSON, XML versus JSON, and I'm going to explain JAXB, which is used to convert Java object to XML and XML to Java object. Marshalling, unmarshalling will be covered here. Marshalling and unmarshalling, because when one application wants to talk to another application, multiple microservices will be available right in our project. Let's look at this. So if I go for a microservices based architecture, here I have one microservice. This microservice wants to talk to database. If this microservice wants to talk to database, then Spring Data we are going to use. So what is the use case for this learning the Spring Data? My microservice wants to talk to the database. For that we are going to use the Spring Data. Similarly, my microservice wants to talk to another microservice. My microservice wants to talk to another microservice. So how data will be exchanged between these two microservices of XML or in the form of JSON. So we need to have a good knowledge related to XML, JSON, and JAXB as well as Jackson API. How to convert Java object to JSON and JSON to Java object also we are going to understand by using this Jackson API. After that, REST API development. Spring with REST introduction. Spring with REST intro. After that, REST API development. How to develop RESTful services by using our Spring with REST. Security in the REST. How to secure our REST APIs by using JWT and by using OAuth. Then we will understand what is Postman. How to test our REST APIs by using Postman, which is a tool. After that, we will be understanding Swagger and Swagger UI, which is used to generate the documentation for our REST API. Then we will talk about REST client. Here we will be seeing REST template, web client, sync and asynchronous calls, sync and async calls, asynchronous programming that we are going to understand, mono objects, flux objects, reactive programming. This reactive programming is the new concept in the Spring, which introduced in Spring 5.x version. Reactive programming we are going to understand as part of this, right? Spring with REST. So these are the concepts that we are going to learn. And exception handling. How to handle exceptions in the REST API. That is also very, 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 very important. We need to handle the exceptions in our REST API. How to generate the documentation for the REST API. How to test the REST API. How to develop a client for the REST API by using REST template, REST client, REST template, and web client we are going to understand here. Right. Anybody has any questions on this REST? So this knowledge is more than sufficient for 3 years experience. How? So these are the high level concepts, sir. So if I want to increase the course content, I can write the low level concepts like this. HTTP protocol, HTTP methods, HTTP status calls, consumes, produces, accept header, right? and this like this I can increase the content. But so this is already available as part of the PDF document that you can see in the video, right? So high level, so if you know these concepts, that means you are qualified REST developer to develop a microservice by using REST APIs. All of you clear with this one? Any questions? And as part of this REST API only, I am going to use Apache Kafka. How, why this REST APIs will communicate with the Apache Kafka? What are the use cases of the Apache Kafka? So literally speaking, so in the last 2 years, I developed almost 50 microservices in my project. Every microservice in my project will talk to Apache Kafka, which is a message broker. So my microservices will publish the messages to the Apache Kafka. Some other microservice will consume the message from the Apache Kafka. So how to connect with that Apache Kafka? Nowadays, I think some of you may aware or may not aware, we got Confluent Apache Kafka. Confluent Kafka came into the market, which is advanced to the Apache Kafka. Now, as part of my application, we are migrating from Apache Kafka to the Confluent Kafka, which is having more features when compared with Apache Kafka. This is the latest update. In the last week only, in my project, we started migrating from Apache Kafka to Confluent Kafka. So that also we are going to understand what is Apache Kafka, what is Confluent Kafka, because everything, what is the latest, what is going in the industry, because I am already part of the project development, right? So I will be understanding the latest concepts, what is happening. Those things will be covered in the classroom. So Apache Kafka, then I'm going to explain Redis server. What is this Redis server? I think already I have taken a live session. So here practically we are going to implement how the Redis server is going to work. So in the last live session, I missed one concept, how to push the data from database to the Redis server directly. That also will be covered here. In my DB data is available. I want to push the data to the Redis server. Then my microservice will access the data from the Redis server as a cache data. So that also will be explained as part of our REST API development. Guys, a lot of content we are going to learn, sir. So I want you people's time, right? Spring with REST. Yep. Any other questions, anybody? Sir, token generation using JWT auth. Abhinesh, we'll talk about that, sir. Don't get frustrated, right? So don't confuse me by asking irrelevant questions here. So we'll talk about this, everything. I told about security, right? Do you want me to write here what is the code to generate the OTP and code to generate that JWT and all? For that, there is a time. It comes in the class. Please be patient. Right. Fee and client, sir. Inter-service communication. So here, when I mentioned one microservice will talk to another microservice, right? That's where inter-microservice communication will comes into picture. For that, I am going to use fee and client. So after this Spring call and async call, fee and client will be covered. Inter-service communication. Inter-service communication. And one more thing, sir, here I'm going to explain how to consume SOAP web service in REST API. Because in the real time, when our project is developing multiple microservices, right? So let me give you a simple scenario in my project, what is happening. So my project is from bank. In this project, actually this project is for credit card decision making. When a USA person applies for a credit card, my project will decide whether this person is eligible for the credit card. So based on several scores, here CIBIL scores will be available. In the USA, several scores will be available like FICO scores and Equifax scores, FPD scores, TransUnion scores, like that. Several scores will be available. To access the several scores from the third party, we developed several microservices in my project, right? Some of the names. So don't worry about the full forms of those, you don't need of that because you are not going to part of that project anyhow. Equifax, EXP, like that. Several microservices that we are going to develop as part of my project. Now, these microservices are responsible to communicate with third-party APIs. So USA citizen details we want. So the USA citizen details like tax details I want, his employment details I want, his educational details I want, his personal details I want. Those details are not available with my bank. Those details are available with several third-party vendors. So whenever the citizen send a request to my application with his basic details to take a credit card, so request comes to my application from the UI. Here one user interface will be available. So they will fill some basic details like SSN number. Based on that, request will come to my application. This you can call it as UI, user interface. Now request comes to my application. Here my application contains several microservices. I was part of 50 microservices development in the last 2 years of time, right? Like this, several microservices are there. The duty of these microservices to access the data from the third party APIs. These are from third party. In the USA government, some third government projects are there, some private projects are there. Our microservices are responsible, our REST APIs are responsible to access third party API. Luckily, this is a REST API, assume that. Then we can go for REST template, or we can go for web client. REST client we can use to establish the communication from our API to third party API. These all are third party APIs. These all are third party APIs like this. Now assume that this last one is not REST, this is a SOAP, because we can't force them to change to the REST, right? Because it is third party. Whatever the service that they are providing, we have to access that service, that's it. We cannot question them, hey third party, why are you still using SOAP web service? Why don't you migrate to the REST API? We don't have those rights. If they are giving something, chup chap, we need to take that, because we need the data from them. We need the services from them. We can't force them to change to REST API. Here, can you say that, hey, I don't know SOAP web services, could you please convert your project to the REST API? Then my REST API will access your REST API by using REST client. Can you force the third party vendor like that? Guys, please respond. Can you tell to the third party vendor to change from REST API to SOAP web service? We can't do that. We can't do that, right? Whenever they are providing, we are providing you SOAP web service. We have to learn how to consume that SOAP web service as part of our REST API. So here I need to develop a SOAP consumer. So to act from my experience, REST, my service is a REST API, because these are the latest microservices we are developing. All the latest projects are using REST only. But this third party service developed 5 years ago, that is developed based on SOAP web service. Then what I need to do as part of my microservice, I need to develop a SOAP consumer. So we can't say that I don't know SOAP. If you are a developer, whatever the task you have, whatever the requirement you have to upgrade and you have to work on that. So if you don't know SOAP consuming logic, then you are gone. Your manager or lead will say that he is not flexible resource. He knows only REST. He will work with only REST. Tomorrow, whenever there is a requirement on the SOAP, this is not suitable. He is not suitable person for that. We should not get that bad name. Because how I came to know that? Because in my project only, there are several microservices are there which are communicating with the third party APIs. Those third party are developed by SOAP. Some third party APIs are developed by REST. Some third party APIs are developed by SOAP. This is the realistic requirement that I have seen in my project. So that is the reason here I am going to explain you how to consume SOAP web service by using our REST API. So here I'm going to explain you how one REST API will communicate with another REST API, how one REST API will communicate with another REST API which is available in our project, and I am going to tell you how our REST API will communicate with the SOAP provider also. So total 3 types of communications we are going to understand. So this FPD is our API, our microservice. How our FPD API will communicate with the third party web service, third party REST API by using REST client, that I am going to cover. I will take some third party API. I will show you how to communicate with that by developing REST client. Then in microservices, I am going to tell you how inter-service communication will happen. Because in my project, there are 10 microservices. First microservice wants to talk to second microservice. That both are belongs to our project only. Then it will be called as inter-microservice communication. That also will be explained. Then I will be taking one microservice which talks to SOAP consumer, how to develop SOAP consumer logic as part of our Spring Boot, that also we are going to understand as part of our Spring with REST. Right guys, what else you need from the RESTful services, let me know. These all concepts that I am using in my project, that's the reason I listed here. From past 2 years, I am working with all these concepts in my project. So everything is real time guys, nothing is theoretical. For every concept, I am going to develop the example in front of the class. No example is pre-developed. Every program, every line of code I am going to write in the class in front of you. You will be sharing, you will be seeing my screen, each and every line, public class, class name, everything I am going to write in front of you in the classroom. Sorry. right? As any questions related to REST? Anything else that you want to know from the REST API? Did I miss anything? HTTP protocol I did not mention here. That is the basic thing that we need to know to develop a REST API. So thank you for the scenario. Yes, sir. That is the difference that I told you, right? Definitely, I'm going to show the difference between other trainers and me. So because I am working in the industry, so I know what is happening there. So that is the reason I'm able to pull that scenario here. Yes, sir. We'll combine all these things together. We will develop one final application. Everything will be available in that application. Yes, end to end. After this, the very interesting part of this course, the second part of the movie will start. That is microservices. Or we can say this is the most value addition for our course. What is this microservice? Why we need to go for microservice? What are the things that we need to know in the microservices will be discussed here, right? Lot of content is there, sir. Here I already prepared a PDF for that. So here we are going to understand monolith architecture. So if you observe this diagram, you can imagine, you can understand basic. What is the difference between this monolith and a microservice? This is old passion. This is old passion of developing the project. Now people are not following that. So in the old passion, people will develop everything in the single project. User interface, that is presentation logic available, business logic will be available, DAO layer will be available, database components will be available as part of our project. Got it? So this is the old style of developing our application. Nowadays in the industry, if you are going to develop the project, two things comes into our brain. One is monolith based architecture. Another one is microservices based architecture, right? Monolith based architecture is already outdated in the market. Now people are going for microservices based architecture. So what is this monolith? Why monolith is not recommended for the project? Why industry avoiding this monolith architecture based projects, that we are going to understand. And if you go for monolith architecture, what is the deployment process? How many servers are required to deploy our monolith based application? What is a load balancer? What is a cluster? What is the cluster algorithms will be available? I think in the Amirpet, no faculty will cover what is this load balancing, how the load balancing algorithms are going to configure for our application deployment in the production. We are introducing these concepts in our Spring Boot and microservices course, because I have seen how this load balancing is going to happen in the industry, because one server is not sufficient to run your project in the production. Do you think that Flipkart application will run in one server? Facebook application will run in one server? This much load? Millions of people are accessing these web applications at a time. So one server is not sufficient. Our applications will be deployed to multiple servers by creating a cluster. So when you configure a cluster, which is server will receive your request? What is the algorithm that you are going to implement for the load balancing? So that algorithms you need to know. So then only you will be called as an experienced developer. So that is the difference between the person who is only teaching and the person who is working on teaching. So as I am working, I know how these concepts are really important to show that you are genuine and you are experienced guy in the market. So I promised you, definitely I'm going to show the difference between other trainers and the people who are teaching Spring Boot microservices in the market, and what Boot microservices we are going to learn. This content is uncomparable. Nowhere you will get this, right? Then we are going to see the drawbacks of the monolith, why monolith is not recommended. Then we will start with introduction part for the microservices. Sir, whenever you go for any concept, some advantages will be available, some disadvantages also will be available. So similarly, microservices architecture is also having several advantages, and it is also having few disadvantages also. Advantages are available, disadvantages also available. Those things also we are going to understand. Then I will take microservices case study. I will take my example only, sir. No need to take any example from the Google, because I am working for a project where microservices are there. I will take my banking project only as a case study for this microservices to understand. So here I have given you one simple use case. One simple use case I have given, like that every concept that I'm going to the use case where I am using in my project. Right. Now, identifying the microservices boundaries, the limitations, architecture of the microservices, like what is gateway service, what is gateway service, what is service registry, what are the actual microservices we are going to develop, that complete API gateway, service registry, Eureka, Joule, those things will be covered as part of microservices architecture. After we got complete idea on the what is microservices architecture, then we are going to develop 2 microservices as part of our project. We are going to develop 2 microservices as part of our project, right? So these microservices will help you to understand how microservices development will happen in the industry. What are the best practices that we need to follow to develop these microservices? Then inter-service communication case study. Why one microservice wants to communicate with another microservice? What is the real use case when one microservice will communicate another microservice? We are going to understand. So here, as I discussed, I am going to cover 3 types of interactions. Our microservice will talk to our microservice only. Suppose if I give you the numbering for this, first, second, third, fourth, right? These are our microservices only. My microservice wants to talk to another microservice within the same project. That is called inter-service communication. For that inter-service communication only, we are going to use FIAN client. Then how my microservice will communicate with the third party microservice, other company microservice, other project, which is available in the some other project. Then how my microservice will communicate with the SOAP provider, right? So 3 types of communications we are going to understand. After that, the another important concept, that is cloud. How to use cloud. Nowadays, for boot microservices developer, cloud knowledge is also mandatory. In every interview, they are asking how much experience you have in the cloud. What is the cloud platform that you are using as part of your project, right? So here in my project, we are using PCF. PCF provides platform. So you just develop the code. You just develop the code. You need any server. You don't need any cluster. That whatever the platform, whatever the infrastructure that is required to run your application, that will be provided by the PCF. The complete PCF that I am going to teach you here, how to create the PCF account, how to install the PCF software, how to deploy our microservices to the PCF by using CLI, what is auto scaling. So can anybody know what is auto scaling? Can anybody tell me what is auto scaling? Please, I want answers, sir. Please respond. What is auto scaling? What is auto scaling? Increasing resources on demand. Exactly. So here my application is deployed to one server. Now assume that this is one server. In this server, I am deploying my REST API, which is my microservice. Assume that this is my microservice. It is running on one instance. One instance, nothing but one server. Sir, in the industry, people will not call it as a server. People will be calling it as an instance. How many instances are there for your microservice? Suddenly, your team leader manager will ask you, hey Ashok, how many instances are there for FPD service? Then I should be able to answer immediately. Instance, nothing but server. How many servers are running for your microservice? That terminology is very, very important, right? Now, so assume that this is my microservice, which is part of the Flipkart. Today, big day sale is available. Today, big day sale is available. So today at 4 p.m., big day sale is going to start. Can Flipkart guess how many requests will come from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m.? Can anybody answer? For the big day sale, can Flipkart guess how many requests will come to this Flipkart application? Can they guess 1 million requests? Can they guess 10 million requests? If they guess 1 million requests will come, then definitely they will go for 500 servers. Definitely they will go for 500 servers, but there is no clue. We don't have any idea how many requests will come to our Flipkart application during this big day sale. Assume that they understand that they assumed it 1 million requests will come per second. 1 million or 1 lakh requests per second. 1 lakh per second. To handle 1 lakh requests per second, they established 500 server. The cluster is created with the 500 servers. They deployed the Flipkart microservices to 500 servers. Now 4 p.m. started. 4 p.m. As expected, 1 lakh request per minute or 1 lakh request per second. 500 servers are going to handle that. But at 4-5 p.m., one minister died. Politician, very good politician, central minister died in one accident. Then what will happen? Can you guess what will happen, sir? Some disaster happened, some natural disaster happened in the country, right? Or one big politician died. Automatically the requests are going to down. Hits are going to reduce for the Flipkart because the people will divert to the media. People will divert to the news channel. Hey, kya ho gaya ye banda ko, kaise mar gaya? So people are very interested to understand how that politician is expired. What is happened? It is a murder, or is it a suicide, or is it an accident? So lot of traffic will divert from Flipkart to the news channels. If the traffic is diverted to the news channels, then what about the Flipkart created 500 servers? That is loss. To establish a cluster with the 500 servers, they need to invest a lot of money. They expected 1 lakh requests per second. For that, they invested 10 crore rupees to create this cluster. But within 5 minutes of time, 1 lakh requests reduced to 1000. Then whatever the cluster they created, that is waste of money. That is waste of money. So to avoid this kind of problem only, we are going to enable auto scaling. So in our applications, we are going to enable auto scaling. What is the benefit of this auto scaling? For this, if you enable auto scaling in the cloud, based on the number of requests are coming, the instances are going to add for our microservice. You no need to fix how many servers are required, how many instances are required to run your application. If 1 lakh requests are coming for your application, servers will be increased. If requests are reducing, servers will be reduced. Dynamically adding the server, removing the server for our application. That is the concept of auto scaling. So several people already, you might have purchased several products on the big day sale, but you don't know how they are managing the infrastructure in the background. So this is the magic that is going to do. Enable auto scaling. Whenever there is a big day sale in the e-commerce applications, definitely that day they will enable auto scaling because they don't estimate how much traffic will come per second. They cannot create a cluster with 1,000 servers at a time. If the traffic did not come, that servers are going to waste. The infrastructure cost is going to be wasted. So that's the reason people will enable auto scaling. That will decide how many servers are required for how many requests. If requests are keep on increasing, servers will increase within fraction of seconds. If the requests are keep on decreasing, servers will be removed within fraction of seconds. So that I am going to show you practically how this auto scaling can be enabled in, right? How to work with this auto scaling as part of our applications deployment process also we are going to understand. Then service registries, gateway API, Joule proxy, what is a circuit breaker, right? So anybody know what is circuit breaker? Any idea, sir? So I'm not expecting that you should know already, but just I want to check. Anybody have idea what is circuit breaker? Based on load, servers will be created. Circuit breaker not meant for that, not interceptor. No, sir. Circuit breaker is used to handle fault tolerances, which is used to handle fault tolerance. So to provide resilience systems in our microservices architecture based applications, we are going to use a circuit breaker. The reason is, suppose the request is coming to the FPD service. Some exception occurred in the FPD. If the exception occurred in the FPD, it is not going to function properly. Then remaining services are not going to execute in the request, right? One request will be processed by multiple microservices. If an exception occurs in one microservice, how to handle that failure scenario? When the request is occurred, when the failure is happened in the microservice, I want to execute a fallback logic. Condition 1, if this method is failed, don't worry, go and execute second method. Don't stop it. Don't stop the JVM. Don't terminate the application. Don't kill the request. Client send a request to you. If you stop that request processing because of some exception, client is going to suffer. I don't want my clients to suffer. I want to execute a fallback logic in the microservice. If this logic is failed, some other logic I am going to execute. For that, we are going to use circuit breaker in our project, right? That is very, very, very important. Even in my project also, we are using circuit breakers to provide resilience systems, right? So circuit breaker dashboards we are going to understand, and boot admin servers we are going to understand, admin clients we are going to understand, distributed logging we are going to understand, how to perform logging in the microservice based application. Already you know logging, log4j, right? But how we will do the logging in the microservice based architecture applications we'll understand. Client side load balancing we'll understand by using ribbon. How to use ribbon in the microservice, how to balance the load at the client side. Load balances will done in two sides, sir. Server side load balancing will done, And client-side load balancing also we can do. Server-side load balancing, client-side load balancing. Here I explain load balancing for the Flipkart. That load balancing will happen at the server side. So they are going to keep on adding the servers, right? Client side also we can do the load balancing in the microservices. That is the beautiful concept that provided by our Spring Boot. That is called ribbon. Ribbon also we are going to understand here for client side load balancing. Right. Next one, Jenkins tools, right? Sir, how microservices will be deployed to servers by using CI and CD. Jenkins I am going to explain. Docker I am going to cover for containerization. SonarQube, this is used to review our code. How much quality you are maintaining in the code, that will be we can understand that part by using this SonarQube. SonarQube is used to do code review. You are writing 1,000 lines of code. Writing 1,000 lines of code is not important. How many quality lines of code you are writing, how much bug-free code you are writing in the project, that is important. So to improve our code quality, what do you mean by code quality? Reducing the bugs, providing the clean code, right? So to provide the clean code, we need to do the code review. To do the code reviews, we are going to understand SonarQube. Then I will explain you what is Jira. If I found a bug in the microservice, how to report that bug, or how task will be assigned to you as part of microservices development, will understand. To test SOAP providers, we will use SOAP UI, and to test our REST APIs, we will use Postman. So these are the several tools also that we are going to understand. And one more thing, sir, one part that I forgot to tell you. In my project, currently we have PCF. We got a request from the client. We are migrating from PCF to AWS. So I am learning some concepts from the AWS also. If I get good confident on the AWS, then I will show you how to deploy our microservice to AWS also, which is Amazon Web Services, which is trending in the market. So definitely I'm going to explain you PCF, complete concepts, because I have work experience with the PCF. AWS, I don't have work experience, I am learning because my project requirement is that. So if I get that confidence before our batch is going to complete, then I will show you how to deploy our application to AWS also. So two cloud providers we are going to understand. One is PCF, another one is the AWS. Right, but AWS I cannot guarantee at this moment, sir, because I am also having so many doubts in that. Once I get full confidence on that, then I will tell you how can we go with that. Fine. And one more thing people are asking, sir, are you going to use the Java 8 concepts? Definitely. Method references I will use, functional programming I will use, lambda expressions I will use, streams I will use, several Java 8 features I am going to use as part of our applications development. When I am writing the code, I will try my level best to use Java 8 concepts only as part of the project. Because if you go for the interview, definitely they are asking the questions related to Java 8. Streams is very, very, very important. How to work with the streams, how to use the streams. And to be frank, for me also it will take a lot of time to understand the streams. Even in my project also, we are using the streams concept. The initial days, I struggled a lot to understand the streams because lot of theoretical, lot of practical concepts we need to understand, lot of internals we need to understand for the streams. So it is a little bit confusing concept. I will make it simple for you because I have done a lot of analysis. So I'm going to use that Java 8 concepts also as part of our training. So you no need to worry about that. I will take care of that. It is one-stop solution for you, everything. Whatever you need, I am ready to provide. Security, yes sir, security will be covered. I told you JWT and OAuth. Sir, Git repository, Bitbucket repositories, those will not be covered here. Those will be covered in the project batch. For we have separate project batch, right? From the project batch, all the tools we are going to understand very soon. So many people are asking me for the project batch, right? I'm going to announce the project batch also very soon. You can attend both project batch and boot microservices parallelly. That's not a problem, because in the project batch, first 1 month we are going to understand tools only, right? And project batch also online, sir, now, because offline classes we cannot start because of this lockdown, right? So that will also be online batch only. And one more thing I forgot to tell you, how to do unit testing by using JUnit and Mockito. Unit testing also will be covered for our application. I think I mentioned that already. Yes, unit testing for our boot application using JUnit and Mockito. For microservice based applications also, how we will perform unit testing, that we are going to cover. That is part of the development only, sir. I don't need to highlight that I am going to teach JUnit. It is part of the development. When we develop an application, definitely you have to complete the unit testing by using JUnit. Then only you can say your service is completed. If I develop a service, I will do unit testing also. Yes. How to manage the transactions across multiple services? Yes, I think recently I had taken a workshop on the pattern that will be explained again. Yes, JUnit 5 we are going to use Hitesh. Which tools use testing in microservice? Separate tools are not there for testing, sir. For testing, we will use that JUnit only for unit testing automation. Batch processing also will be covered. How to perform batch operations? Spring batch, right? Spring batch. How to perform the batch operations in our boot application, that also will be explained. Right. That I think I forgot to mention that in the PDF document. I will include that also, sir, for next version. Batch processing also will be explained to you. Nothing is going to miss, sir. You can compare with other trainers what concepts they are covering. Definitely more content will be available here. By mistake, if I miss anything or if I did not list it down, please let me know. Always I am available. You can talk to me through Facebook. You can talk to me through WhatsApp. Just ping me, Ashok, you are not explaining this concept. Then I will add that to our content also. We are going to understand that as well. Maven Gradle, Maven will be covered, sir. Maven link I have, Maven link I am going to provide to you. RabbitMQ, I'm not explaining RabbitMQ, sir, because that is already outdated. We are seeing Apache Kafka, which is latest in the market. What design patterns you want? This batch is not for the design patterns, sir. Some design patterns we are going to understand as part of the class, but not all the design patterns I am going to explain. Based on the situation, we need to go for design pattern, then I will tell you which design pattern we need to use. Cache design pattern, anyhow we are using. Front control design pattern, anyhow we are using. Factory design pattern we are going to use. Singleton design patterns we are going to use. So several things will be covered, but I cannot name it. I'm going to explain. I don't want to cheat you. So if I want to attract the people, I will say that I will give design patterns for free. If you come to my course, I will teach you design patterns. That kind of false statements I am not going to give you. So to be frank, I am saying complete design patterns I can't explain. When based on the situation, I'm going to cover some design patterns. Yes, that is guaranteed from my side. Right. So from the course content side, this we understood what we are going to learn from microservices. Did I miss anything? Tools also I explained, sir. Perfect. Yes. And I want to give you one more update, sir. Some people are asking, sir, once the lockdown is completed, in which institute your batches are, which institute you are working. So please note it down. I am not working for any other institute in the Amirpet from now onwards. So today is the announcement on behalf of my birthday. I am announcing that. So from today onwards, I am working for Ashok IT. I'm starting my own institute. This is Ashok IT. Currently, all the classes will be online because of this lockdown. Once the lockdown is completed, we will plan it accordingly, whether to continue in the online or whether to go for the offline. Currently, still we are not decided on that. So you no need to inquire about my courses in any other institute. So directly you can talk to me. My WhatsApp number is there. My Facebook ID is also available to you. You can directly chat with me. Right. So, and thank you so much for all of you for showing interest in Ashok IT. And this is giving me very confidence that we can do it better way. We can do it better. We can do it better. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for all of you for my wishes. I'm feeling very happy for that. Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful wishes. Thank you. All your support will be there with me, I believe. So I will support for you and I'm expecting support. Right. Fine. Rest concepts are going to take approximately 15 days of time, 15 to 20 days of time it is going to take only for rest, and 15 to 20 days it is going to take for microservices. 15 to 20 days of time it is going to take for microservices. So approximately 2 months of time I'm planning for this microservices batch for all these concepts. So our course is divided into multiple parts, right? Spring Basic, Spring Boot Basics is one thing. After that, Spring Data is one part. After that, Spring Web MVC is one part. After that, Spring REST is one part. Spring Cloud concepts also will be covered as part of microservices. Then microservices also will be covered. Then real-time tools also, some tools, not all, some real-time tools which I mentioned in the document, those tools will be covered here. Boot Basics, Data, Web MVC, REST, Cloud, microservices, real-time tools are going to cover. Right. Anything else? Any other questions? The duration that I planned for 2 months of time. Right. Yes, sir. Extra time on Saturday and Sunday we are going to take. And one more thing, every Sunday I will coming to the Facebook Live and I will be taking one session on the latest updates in the industry and what are the latest concepts that are using in the microservices. Right. Fine. So for all these things, for whatever the course content that I have listed down, the fee for this course is 5,000 rupees. Right. Payment mode online. Payment mode online, sir. I will share you Google Pay phone number or phone pay, or I can give you my bank details also. Every class is going to be live. Anybody miss any class, I will share the video also. You no need to worry about that. Every class that will be recording, and whatever the class that you miss, so daily our team will be available here. They will be taking your attendance. If you miss any class, then that particular video will be shared with you. Right. Payment mode will be online. Fee 5,000. Duration 60 days. Duration will be 60 days for this course. Every class is live. It is not pre-recorded session I am going to provide. Every class is going to be live. Right. And so if you are not part of my YouTube channels, or some of the tools I already uploaded like Jenkins and exception handling, Lombok, some strings coding challenges, some Spring MVC interview questions, project manager on questions I uploaded to my YouTube channel. This is my channel name, Ashok IT. So if you are not subscribed already, please subscribe to my channel. So that you can find some useful videos where you can improve your technical skills. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Every Sunday, our Facebook Live in the YouTube, I will be talking about last 2 weeks I have discussed about Redis Cache. 1 week I have taken, and 1 week I have taken about Saga design pattern. So similarly, every Sunday I will be coming to the live because this is tough time for me. So because with one person I have started this Ashok IT, I am the only one who is working for this now. So I need to do more promotions and I need to do more hard work. So that is the reason. So I'm coming to the Facebook Live every Sunday. At that I'm going to talk about one concept which are going to help you people. And I need your support and I want you to refer your friends as well. Right. Fine. What to JWT will be covered, sir? Yes. Class days, sir, 6 days per week or 7 days per week. It is not Monday to Friday, it is Monday to Saturday. Monday to Saturday classes will be available, sometimes Sunday also. If the course is going slow, then Sunday also I will take the class in the morning. Right. So you assume, you prepare your mind, every day our class will be there for next 2 months. Then it is good. It is not Monday to Friday, it is Monday to Monday. Every day our class will be available, because currently I am doing my office work from home only. So that's not an issue. I can take the class. Right. And daily class notes will be shared with you, and whatever the example that I am going to do in the classroom, every example I will do in front of you only. Every example that I am going to do in the class, that example I am going to share with you. I will create one Google Drive where our class daily class notes and daily class examples will be uploaded to you. Daily class notes and daily examples will be uploaded to you. Right. That's not a problem. And one more thing, sir, if you want to complete this course quickly, we have a morning 7:30 batch. In that batch, boot basics got completed, Spring Data got complete. Spring Data started just today. So if you want, you can continue with the morning 7:30. These concepts you can cover parallelly, right? So that your time will be saved. And I got some concerns. Some of the people already working in the industry, their office timings are at 9:30 or at 10 o'clock, sir. We can't go with this 9:30 batch. We want to convert to 7:30 batch. If all of you okay, then I will merge this 9:30 batch and 7:30 batch, so boot basics data will be covered in the 9:30 batch. Continue completely for next 15 days or 20 days, how much time it is going to take. And once when the MVC starts in the morning 7:30 batch, morning 7:30 to 9 o'clock, the class is available. MVC, REST, Cloud, Microservices tools, you can attend in the 7:30 batch. In the 9:30 batch, so that your concepts will be completed quickly. By the time REST will start by the time MVC will start in the 7:30, our basics will be completed. Then parallelly, you can attend the MVC and the data. Then our time will be saved a lot, right? So if all of you okay with that, then we can merge also. That's not an issue, right? If you are not okay with that 7:30, then you can continue with the 9:30, then it's not a problem. Yes, so please, whatever your flexibility, please send me a message. My number is available, right? WhatsApp, whatever time is comfortable for you, based on that you can go. So because of some working professional timings, I have taken this decision. But if you are not comfortable with that 9:30, 7:30, then we can go with the 9:30. It's up to you, sir. So I will take that. I will talk to you. If you are not comfortable, then we'll discuss about that. Right. Fine. My WhatsApp number, that is 630-192-1083. 630-192-1083. Please note it down. This is my WhatsApp number, and this is my personal email ID, ashokitschool@gmail.com. So if you have any questions, you can send me WhatsApp instead of email. But anything which is lengthy, then you can go for email also. Any document that you want to share, resumes and kind of thing, send me email. If you want to chat with me, then this is my WhatsApp number. Right. Right. And the payment processor, people who are interested to enroll for this course, please send me a message to this WhatsApp. That will give you details. Once your payment is done, please send me your screenshot to this WhatsApp number. Our team member will note it down all your details for sending the group links. So tomorrow also you can join the class by using same link. From tomorrow, by tomorrow, our free classes will be completed today and tomorrow. Then you need to complete the payment process to attend our next class. To attend our next session, you need to complete the payment process. Once the payment process is done, please send me the screenshot to this number. We will note it down and we will send the class link personally to your email ID. When you are sending the payment screenshot, send your name, send your contact mobile number, send your email ID also, so that we will track all your details and we will send you meeting link personally. Link will be sent only to the people who completed the payment processing registration tomorrow end of the day. Tomorrow you can attend the session by using the same link. Right. So as we discussed, completely the course will be online. After lockdown, this is not offline. Complete course will be in the online only. Every class is live, and complete all the concepts will be explained with the industry standards and with the real-time approaches we are going to cover. For every concept, I will tell you what is the real-time use case and where I am going to use this concept in my project. With that knowledge, I am going to give you. After attending this boot on microservices, you can mention that you are having 3.5 years of experience as a boot microservices developer. So that much knowledge we are going to understand. This is not my statement, sir. This is the statement that given by my students who attended the boot microservices with me. So in the interview, they are able to crack very easily, because that's whatever the concepts that are asking in the interview, latest technologies, latest concepts, everything will be covered as part of this course. So that is the reason I am showing. So there is no competitor for us. There is no comparison. No need to compare ourselves with anybody, because we are having uncomparable content, the best. With every concept real-time scenario, we are going to understand. That is the difference that I will show you between other trainers and me. So why you need to choose Ashok IT? Why you need to attend Ashok classes for Spring Boot microservices? The reason, currently I am working, I know what is happening in the industry. I know where to use which concept as part of the project development. So every time, everything will be explained with the real-time scenarios. So that is the difference. That is the confidence that I am having on myself. Right. So if you are interested, please enroll for this course. Please refer your friends also. If any of your friend wants to join, ask them to send a message to my mobile number or to my message to my email, so that we will talk to them and we can complete the enrollment process. Thank you all of you. See you tomorrow. Bye bye. Any questions, you can text me now. Project batch will be announced very soon, sir. We are going to announce that. Yes. In the industry, openings will be start after 2 months of time. Right. Anything else? Yes, sir. We'll plan it, sir. Sai will plan accordingly. Same link for tomorrow. Yes. Project timings will announce very soon. Still not yet decided, sir. Today I will think about it and I will announce that. Right, guys. Thank you. Bye bye.